Hey everyone, so today's video is going to be a little bit different because today I'm going to gather the maple seeds that have fallen into my garden from the tree right on the other side of the garden, and I'm going to show you how you can eat them. So this is something that I just learned last year. I was basically complaining about how annoyed I was with all of the maple seeds that I was getting out of my garden so that I didn't have a bunch of weeds to pull later. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's still a bit annoying. And somebody said, hey, did you know you can eat those? And I said, what? And then I looked online and they weren't lying to me. So I went ahead and I deshelled some and ate them last year just raw, and they were fine, not great. I only tried a couple, but this year I'm gonna harvest them from my garden and turn something that used to be an annoyance into something that actually has a useful purpose. So I've already gone ahead yesterday, because yesterday was the first day they really started falling, and I gathered some. I'm going to continue gathering them today, and then I'll kind of show you how I'm going to prepare them, because I'm going to do something a little bit different just to make them a little more tasty. Now, something else I kind of want to talk about, because this kind of reminded me of it, is I've taken 2 foraging classes from a person in Illinois named Dave Odd. I'll talk a little bit more about the details when I'm letting these soak a little bit later, but it's just been really cool to kind of learn the plants that are growing around you that you can just pick up and eat. I mean, I know it makes sense. Plants grow from the ground. The ones I'm growing in containers, they also grow from the ground. But we've done a few in like actual city environments, and I don't think that's something you really think about walking around the city is, oh, I can just pull up something from on the side of the sidewalk and put it in my mouth, assuming hopefully a dog hasn't peed on it. But I'll talk more about the foraging classes just in case you are in the area and want to try one out a little bit later. But first, let's go harvest some more of these maple seeds. This right here is the maple tree, and you can see up in the top the little bundles of seedlings that are left. I call them helicopters. I know there's a few other names for them. Let me know what you call them below, but we always called them helicopters growing up. And basically, there's a few days when the wind blows them onto my garden. So what I've been doing is just going around, picking them up off of the soil and tossing them in this bucket. Now, they're a little bit more pink colored this year. I have no idea why. They were definitely all tan, which is what I normally see last year, but this year they're a little pink. Hopefully that doesn't mean anything bad about eating them. But I'm just going to gather these up from different places in my garden. That way, like I said, they don't start to sprout, and I have a bunch of seedlings to pull here. But not only do they fall into the pots, they obviously just fall onto the deck, which is easy to pick up as well. So I'm going to go around and just gather them up, and then I will show you the next steps. So I've gone ahead and collected a few more in here. I think the majority definitely fell yesterday, but I did get at least a handful more in here. So the next step now is I'm going to fill this with water and let these soak for an hour. You want to let them soak just because it's going to be easier to peel the seeds out of the shell. Now, the shell you can eat, like there's nothing wrong with it, it's edible, but it doesn't taste good. So I'm going to let these soak, and then I'm going to peel all of the seeds. But I'm going to cover them with water, leave them out here for an hour, and then I will talk a little bit about the foraging classes that I've taken. So I've hopped back inside because it started to rain outside, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the foraging class because it was something new to me, and I think it's one of the coolest things I've done in a while. So basically, I saw somebody else online do a foraging class somewhere else, and I was like, you know what, I wonder if there's any near me in Chicago. And I wasn't hopeful because, again, living in a city, I just didn't think foraging would be a thing here. But I Googled, I think, just foraging classes Chicago, and Dave Odd is the man who runs it. The foraging tours, I think, are called Eat the Neighborhood. And then he also has a produce company called Odd Produce, although I think I read that now he's just switched everything to the foraging tours, which is really cool that they've just been so successful. So I found them online. Me and my husband did a tour of Oak Park September, I think, of last year, and then we just did North Pond last month, and it was really cool both times. So overall, the coolest thing to me is just being able to walk down just like a city street. I mean, Oak Park is a suburb, but it's not a rural area, so we just walked down the sidewalks there, and then we walked through one of the main parks, and then North Pond, so that's a large pond in Lincoln Park. We just basically walked around the whole park and found the things that were edible, which is a ton. I think every time you do a tour, he has somebody in charge of keeping track of the edible plants because he wants to find at least 50, and that's been very easy to do. And I think the 2 tours were both 2 hours long. The first one in Oak Park had a dinner afterwards, or it was a lunch afterwards. Basically, I think he partnered with a local restaurant, and they made, I think it was a local butcher, and they made chicken sandwiches, but also with mushrooms that we foraged. Mushroom was by far my favorite thing that I ate on the first tour. I think the one we had was called Chicken of the Woods, Turkey of the Woods. I feel like it was Chicken of the Woods. And it was absolutely delicious. I think about that fairly often and wish that I had another mushroom I could eat, but I will not trust myself to eat anything on my own without the guidance of an expert because I don't trust myself not to poison myself. Then the one in North Pond was just the tour. There wasn't a partnership, but I know he did some in the West Loop and partnered with a restaurant, so I want to try that one. He has one in Garfield Park and then one in Humboldt Park, so I kind of just want to cross all of those off my list. My favorite thing that we found in the North Pond one was apple mint, because I want to find apple mint to grow in my garden, and I never would have thought it's just growing down the park that's close to us. So that was really cool, to restrain myself not to go down there and dig it up for myself to take home. But it's just really neat to see all the things that are just out in nature that you can go and eat. The other things that he does that I want to do eventually is, one, you can hire him for like a private tour, which I think that would be really cool to walk up and down. I feel like I've said the word cool 10 times. If you can't tell, I'm really excited by this. But you can hire him to like walk up and down your street or just around where you live. And I think that would be so interesting just to know that, for example, the walk that I like to do when it's warm outside, all of the edible plants that I had no idea I was passing. He also has his own home, which I think is in somewhere like Beaverton, Illinois. It was the name of a town that sounded like somebody who was a forager would live there. And he has his own like compound, estate, I don't know what the word is that he uses, that you can actually go down there and spend a weekend and you camp and you only eat the things that you can forage. So that also just seems like a really cool experience as well. So next time I go on one, maybe I'll share a bit more on here. I've shared it on Instagram in the past for the 2 that we've done, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna do more. And it's just really cool to think of all these things like maple seeds that I didn't know you could eat, that now I've actually found out that you can. So yeah, I'm gonna wait for those seeds now to soak. I think we still probably have like 45 minutes of soak time. Then I'm gonna peel them, which is going to take the longest and probably the part where I'll really question if I want to do this. And then my plan is to boil them and then season them. I think I'm gonna do half with just like salt and pepper, and then the other half something sweeter, maybe a little bit of cinnamon, maybe some vanilla extract. I don't know, we'll see when we get there. But I will hop back in once I'm ready to peel the seeds. The maple seeds are all peeled, and it's such a small amount for, I think it took me maybe an hour to peel all of these just listening to a podcast. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil them for 15 minutes, or bring the water to a boil, let them simmer for 15 minutes, and then give them a little seasoning, and we'll see how they taste. Here the seeds are now. I tried to get a clip of them boiling, but of course the steam fogged up the camera lens. So I basically brought the water to a boil, simmered them for 15 minutes, and then as soon as I dumped them out to strain them, it smelled like peas, which was interesting. I didn't think it would smell like that. I strained them, let them cool, and then I just added a bit of salt and pepper, and I've tried some, and they taste really good. So these should be a bit soft once they're done boiling. So that's how you know they've been boiled a good amount of time, and 15 minutes worked out perfectly. Well, it's a day later and I realized I never ended the video, so this is going to be the official end. I already ate all of the maple seeds. They were really good. It is one of those things where when I'm peeling the seeds and it takes an hour, I'm like, is it worth it? but in the end, it is very fun to be able to eat something from your garden like this. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've ever tried maple seeds before, or if there's any sort of like interesting food that you kind of forage from your yard or your garden. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.